Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Hello, and welcome to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Cynthia, and I hope you all had a fabulous weekend. We are we have just completed 2 weeks, all right, into the new year, 2020, and I'm feeling great. I have had a solid start to my year. I feel like I've already, in the 13, 14 days into 2020, I've accomplished so much, especially towards like my health and my overall health and fitness. One of my biggest New Year's resolutions was to practice mindful eating. And so far, it's been hard. It's been tough, but I've been killing it. I have not been on my phone while I eat, which it has made me enjoy my meals much more, and I'm able to savor the taste and everything. So I'm feeling super motivated and ready to just make 2020 my B, if you know what I mean. And I hope you guys are also off to a very strong start. I hope you guys are all sticking to your New Year's resolutions and not giving up. Because remember, I told you guys in the very last episode that I did, 2019, that we got to hold each other accountable. I'm holding you accountable. You guys got to hold me accountable. So I will regularly update you guys on my New Year's resolutions, because I 100% believe that that's going to make me stay more on top of my, health and fitness journey, especially, sharing that with you guys. So if I'm saying it on here, okay, hold me accountable to it. And I have a lot to cover today. A lot. So that I'm not going to bore you guys with what I did over the weekend, which was like basically nothing. So nothing to tell there. But I have so much to cover today. And I believe that this topic, I'm pretty much going to be talking about macronutrients. So macronutrients are protein, carbs, carbohydrates, and fats. And I'm basically just going to give you guys a huge overview of those macronutrients and just a very broad perspective and overview of nutrition. And I believe that it was suitable for me to talk about this so early on into the new year. As I had just mentioned, we're all embarking, trying to hit and reach our health and fitness goals for the year. And this is my way of, trying to hold you guys accountable, and also just trying to provide you guys with more information on and giving you, I guess, the tools to understand exactly how to reach your health and fitness goals. And diet is probably the most key component when it comes to your fitness goals, whether you're trying to just maintain, or you're trying to build a muscle, or you're trying to lose weight. This talk is for you, and it's a nice refresher also for those who, maybe you air quote eat healthy, but there's definitely some things on here that you can learn. And I'm going to get into more of the science part of macronutrients, and that's why I named it Macronutrient Talk. So I'm ready to discuss with you guys all about nutrition. As we all know, when it comes to your health and fitness goals, 80% of it comes from proper diet and nutrition. 20% is the actual physical activity, whatever it is that you are doing. So it is imperative that y'all pay attention and listen to what I have to say, because we're going to talk all about diet, all about nutrition, but specifically our macronutrients. Proteins, carbs, and fats. I'm going to talk about the properties of each one. What are their, bodily functions? How do they enter, what do they do inside your body? And I might even break some misconceptions that some of you may have, because there are so many, misconceptions and myths surrounding each macronutrient. So I'm ready to get started. I hope you guys are too. Take some notes because it's a lot of dense information. I'm going to get through a lot. So I'm going to break it down for y'all. And the first order of business here is protein. So let's talk about protein. All right. We hear about protein. We always hear about these athletes on high protein diets, but what exactly does protein do for you? So the primary function of protein, you guys, is to build and repair body tissues and structures. So they are literally the building blocks of maintaining and building muscle. And so that's why if you've had like a fitness coach trainer or, you follow different fitness accounts on Instagram, everyone always talks about post-workout nutrition and how you should ingest protein right after your workout. And that's because essentially what you're doing when you're working out is that you're tearing your muscle fibers apart. All right. You're tearing your muscle fibers apart, and to repair your muscle fibers, you need protein. That's literally the whole point of protein, is to repair and to repair your muscles. Duh, that's what I'm trying to say. But in addition to just repairing and building and maintaining your muscle mass, protein is also involved in the synthesis of hormones, enzymes, and other regulatory peptides. And, all right, there's a lot of things protein does. And protein can be used for energy if calories or carbs are insufficient in the diet. But you want to make sure you're eating adequate amount of calories in addition to carbs. And proteins are made up of amino acids linked together by peptide bonds. And the body uses approximately 20 amino acids to build its many different proteins. So a perfect example, so you guys kind of understand like what is an amino acid. Just as specific words are formed by certain sequences of letters, that's essentially the same thing with amino acids. You're arranging the amino acids in different sequences, which yields the body's myriad of proteins. So it's like building a sentence, right? I hope you guys got that point that I was trying to make. And there are two classes of amino acids. We have the essential and non-essential amino acids. Essential amino acids cannot be manufactured in the body. Or they are manufactured, but in very small, insufficient amounts. Therefore, they must be obtained from the food you eat, right? Your food supply, or some other exogenous source, like vitamins. So, for instance, for me, there are 8 essential amino acids, right? Some of them include isoleucine, leucine, valine, and so forth. For me, I personally take lysine pills. They're called L-lysine. And it's an amino acid that is used by the body for the production of collagen, which is a protein that is used to promote the positive integrity of skin tissue as well as the lips. So that is why I just know I'm not consuming enough of this essential amino acid. So I use vitamins. I take lysine vitamins to help with that. In addition, I also sometimes drink bone broth because bone broth is very high in collagen and has other amazing properties from drinking this drink. But bone broth, if you've ever tried it, it has a very distinct taste. It's kind of hard to get used to be honest. So bone broth, I drink from time to time because I definitely get tired of drinking it. And it's kind of pricey. It's an expensive superfood. So if that's not your route, then you can definitely do like pills, vitamins to supply that. So those are the essential amino acids. It's in the name. You absolutely need it. And non-essential amino acids, in the contrary, the body is able to manufacture them from dietary nitrogen and fragments of carbs and fats. So Do we get the difference with essential and non-essential amino acids? They all make up peptide bonds, and that is essentially what proteins are. And there are about 20 different types of amino acids. So those are the different types of proteins, which is why your protein source is extremely important, because not all protein is the same. And that is what's going to lead into my next topic here, which is pretty much, animal-based protein versus plant-based sources. And of course, there's a lot of discussion surrounding this, like, oh, you can only eat a high protein diet eating animal-based foods, and I'm here to tell you that's not the case, but I won't get into all that today, because in a future episode, I will be talking about plant-based diets, the benefits, how does it compare to animal-based sources, because I can have a lengthy discussion just about those two things. But some high protein animal sources could be egg whites, pretty much any dairy and meat product. And then some plant-based sources include grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, and other vegetables. And like I just said, there's a huge misconception that you can only get your protein needs from animal-based sources, but that is completely false. I know during the time when Arnold Schwarzenegger was it, and he was like the it fit guy that everybody, especially men, looked up to. He was promoting a lot that he built his muscle and maintained it, was into bodybuilding, and what contributed to his physique was animal-based protein, eating meat. But there's actually a documentary out there on Netflix, a really great one, and I'll list it right now in the later segment. But of all these vegan athletes and how they have, how their performance has changed drastically since they switched over from a regular consuming meat to a plant-based diet or a vegetarian diet. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, including himself, he is now on a plant-based diet, y'all. I am not lying. You guys can fact check me, Google that. He is on a plant-based diet. So that's the biggest misconception I want to break. You can absolutely be plant-based and still maintain your muscle mass, and still, in addition, on top of that, build muscle mass. So I'm going to take a quick break right here. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about protein.
Are you looking to learn more about the latest trends from the fitness world? Are you confused by all of the different trends that are out there? The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place for you. The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place to come for people of all skill and interest levels. Join us as we explore the latest trends in the fitness world. Does that new exercise really work? Should I try yoga? Whatever your question, chances are good you'll find an answer on the GSMC Fitness Podcast.
Welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. And let's continue talking all about protein, because I'm not even done yet. So I just covered very briefly animal-based protein versus plant-based protein sources. And we can agree that you can get protein from either source. All right. It's just based on your preference. But I want to now talk a little bit more into the protein package. Now, what I mean by protein package, when we eat foods for protein or foods that are in high protein, we also have to remember that we eat everything that comes alongside it. So this means the different fats, fiber, sodium, and more that's in that specific piece of food. It's this protein package that's likely to make a difference for health. So I'm going to give you guys 3 examples just so you can understand a little more what I'm trying to say. So a 4-ounce broiled sirloin steak is a great source of protein, about 33 grams worth. but it also delivers about 5 grams of saturated fat. All right. Now, a 4-ounce ham steak with 22 grams of protein has only 1.6 grams of saturated fat. So a lot lower than the sirloin steak, but it's loaded with sodium, about 1,500 milligrams worth of sodium. And sodium is key into your diet, into a well-balanced diet. But for just a 4-ounce ham steak, so that's pretty high sodium. And that's how most meats are, most poultry. They inject meat with sodium to give it the taste, the salty taste. Now, a cup of cooked lentils provides about 18 grams of protein. So slightly lower than the sirloin steak or the ham steak, but still a decent amount of protein in there. And it provides 15 grams of fiber, and it virtually has no saturated fat or sodium. So you see, the steak, the ham, and the lentils, all three are high food sources of protein. But the protein package, the overall item, that's what differs. And that's where your health is going to see the effects in different ways. So I just wanted to kind of bring that concept to you guys and remember that, because when you're at the grocery store and you see something labeled as high protein and, they put how many grams per serving there are in that item. We also have to remember, the ingredient list, what exactly is in that item, where's the protein source coming from. This also is with vegan items. So just to make a mental note of what I just said. And the goal is to satisfy the majority of your energy needs with carbs and fats, saving protein for tissue repair and growth. That's why you don't just want to eat protein and cut out carbs, which I have a lot to say about that in the following segments. And the whole purpose of protein is to create satiety. So the feeling of fullness. That's pretty much what protein is. And that's why high protein diets are so important, especially if you're looking for fat loss, weight loss tips. High protein. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get bulky. That's the biggest myth I've heard, and clients have told me is if I eat too much protein, I'm going to get bulky. That's not what's going to make you bulky. You need protein just to maintain muscle mass, or you will lose it. The amount of protein a person consumes is going to be different, right? A sedentary person, a person who just sits at their desk for the majority of the day and they're lightly active, they're not going to be consuming the same amount of protein as an athlete or someone who's in a bodybuilding competition or a bikini competition, right? Those situations are different and their bodies demand different amounts of protein. The biggest issue, though, with too much protein, with a too high of a protein diet, is dehydration, all right? Anything more than 35% of your overall proportions, anything more than 35% is considered too high. And also, being on a too high of a protein diet can overwork your kidneys because of the dehydration. So you also don't need to be consuming 300 grams of protein per day. That's way, way, way too much. Way too much. And this is also why with clients and people who ask for tips from me, I always suggest, especially if you're just starting out on, eating on track, eating healthy, I always suggest track your food with a food tracking app to better familiarize yourself with food ratios and proportions. The one that I use and that I know is very popular amongst other people is called, let me watch it right now. I totally just forgot. It's called MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal, I highly suggest that if you want to start tracking your calories, tracking your proportions. By using this app, you guys, MyFitnessPal, I realized I thought the whole time I was eating healthy, I'm on the right track, I'm eating the right proportions. But I soon realized after tracking my food for I'd say 2 months consecutively, I was consuming way too much fat. Way more fat. Out of all the macronutrients, fat was the highest. That probably made about 35%, 40% even of my meals without even realizing it. And a lot of it came from Oils I use, avocado, but I'm not giving up avocado, so that's out of the question. So it gives you a clear idea of exactly what you're ingesting, what are you putting into your body. So I highly suggest tracking your food. I still do it. You don't need to do it if you're someone who's like, that's not what I'm trying to do. Like, I don't want to stress myself out. Do it for just like 2 weeks. Eat what you normally do, but just track it just so you kind of understand where you're headed. What exactly, how many calories are you ingesting? How much protein are you really eating per day? How many carbs, etc. So that would be my number one recommendation. Doesn't matter if you're starting out or not. Highly recommend tracking your food. And moving on. The number one question I usually get when training clients is how much protein should I be eating? And I know this can get very confusing because many fitness professionals tell you different things. And depending with the coaches you work with, each one can tell you also different things. So according to the recommended dietary allowance, aka RDA, for protein intake for the regular person who's not an athlete, they recommend 0.8 grams per kilogram per day. So this in percentage wise is going to equate 10 to 35% of your calorie intake per day should be protein. And now, as I mentioned earlier, that's the exact protein amount is going to be based on what your fitness goals are. So are you trying to maintain? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to build muscle? So all of those things you have to consider. What is your fitness goal? That's going to determine how much protein you should be eating in a day. And also your calorie intake. So if you're trying to gain weight, you are going to want to be on a caloric surplus. If you're trying to lose weight, a caloric deficit. So, and again, I'm going to get into more of what that means in a future episode. Not today, because I got way too many things to talk about today. And I want to just quickly review the properties of protein again, because I've covered a lot so far, and I just want to make sure you guys really understand the purpose and the properties of protein. So again, it's synthesizing body tissue protein, providing glucose for energy, which many can be converted to glucose, providing nitrogen in the form of amine groups to build non-essential amino acids. So that's why you want to get your protein from food sources as much as you can. And again, they are the building blocks for maintaining and repairing muscle tissue and fibers. And the only time, I drink protein powder. I use protein powder. I absolutely love it. And it's not essential to use supplements. Supplements are there to fill in the gap, to fill in the areas where you kind of need more help. So if protein intake if it's hard for you to hit your daily protein intake, then I would suggest like a protein bar or a protein powder to fill in the gap to help you reach your daily protein goal. And again, a protein supplement would be beneficial if in situations when whole food is not available. So like when you're on the go and you need a quick protein shake, or if you're trying to replace like whole food proteins if your goal is weight loss. So that's really the only time I would suggest like a protein supplement. But again, it's not absolutely necessary. I just want to make that clear. Now, I'm going to move on into the next macronutrient, because that was a very dense conversation about just protein, and I can still say more, but I want to get into carbs and fats. So carbohydrates, there are so many myths and misconceptions about carbs. Carbs make you fat. Carbs this, carbs don't do that. So I'm here to hopefully clear up some confusion if you have any. So carbohydrates, we all know, are found in a wide array of both healthy and unhealthy foods. Some of them including bread, beans, milk, popcorn, potatoes, cookies, spaghetti, soft drinks, corn, turkey pie, and the list is endless. They also come in a variety of forms. The most common and abundant forms are sugars, fibers, and starches. So similar to what I was just talking about, protein, how not all protein sources are the same, absolutely applies with carbs. Not all carb sources are the same. And that's probably why many people think like, oh, carbs make you fat. Probably if you're eating cookies every single night, yeah, you're going to gain some weight. Yeah, you're going to gain some fat, like duh. So some examples of sugars, which are carbs, are like honey and fruits, those natural sugars. And these are very easily digested and are high in carbs, especially bananas. Ooh, I love bananas. And I'm currently in a weight gaining phase. So I'm actually like trying to eat very high calorie foods and very high carb foods because that is my fitness goal. But I just know I'm not going to get fat because really the only way how you can, and I'm putting air quotes when I say that, the only way you can really gain weight is by being in a caloric surplus. So by eating more than what you are burning. And I work out a lot. So you just have to also, this is all part of your journey, right? Like you just have to enjoy your fitness journey, your fitness process. There's going to be things that work for you. There may be something that works for me and not for you. So also in a way, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, apply it to where you can, but every body functions differently. Just a disclaimer. Another disclaimer. I know I'm not a certified nutritionist or dietitian. All of this information I'm saying is based from the personal training certification I had to go through. So I just want to make that very clear. I'm not telling you guys, eat this, don't eat that, don't do this. That's not my job. That's what I'm here to do. I'm just here to supply the information and give you guys my opinion because at the end of the day, that is what all this is. It's just my opinion. All right. Needed to say those disclaimers right now. Now let's keep it pushing. So sugars, right? I was just talking about that. So these like honey and fruits, they're the natural sugars. Unlike other, sugars like table sugar or artificial flavoring sugar that's found in packaged juice. So those are the ones you may want to limit your consumption a little bit or just avoid at all costs. Carbs, and this may be a surprising fact to some of you guys, carbs should make up the highest percentage of macronutrient calories when one is attempting muscle gain or fat loss. I'm going to read that again, okay? Carbs should make up the highest percentage of macronutrient calories when one is attempting muscle gain or fat loss, okay? So you do not need to cut out carbs. If you're working with a trainer and they tell you, or a dietitian, nutritionist, and they tell you cut out carbs if you want to lose weight, you need to find another trainer. You need to find a new dietitian, nutritionist, because that is completely false. You do not need to cut out carbs to lose weight. And I am a product of that. I wish I can physically show you guys my transformation picture because I dropped almost 30 pounds of fat, you guys. Almost 30. And I was weighing my heaviest was probably 148. I'm 5'2", by the way, so you guys kind of get a picture of how I look. So I'm 5'2". My heaviest was 148, almost 150. And then the lowest I got to was 114. I'm now sitting at a 120. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. But how I lost all that weight in 6 months is by being in a caloric deficit diet. So I was burning more calories than I was consuming. And my water intake was on point. I did not cut out carbs. I was still eating, instead of rice, I don't really eat rice, but I was eating quinoa and lots of sweet potato, and I was still eating fruits. I was still eating all the foods that I loved. I just made minor adjustments and, I stopped eating out. All those basic things, you will see your body change. You do not need to cut out carbs. I need to really emphasize that, and I hope you guys grasp that, what I'm saying. Do not cut out carbs. You absolutely need it, and it needs to make up the largest portion of your plate. So the recommended carb intake daily for adults is 45 to 65% of total caloric intake, you guys. So your plate, when you are you're creating your dinner plate, the majority of it should be from a carb source. All right. Carbs also provide the body with glucose, which is converted to energy used to support bodily functions and physical activities. So carbs are literally your energy source. This is why I could never give up carbs. And as a result, I will never participate or encourage keto diet. And I'm going to take a quick break right here, and I will let you guys know after the break why I don't do keto.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. And right before the break, I was beginning to express my rage as to why I do not believe you should cut out carbs. I love carbs way too much, and you should too. Okay, carbs are life, literally. And you don't need to cut out carbs because they're bad, you guys. And here's why. Carbs, as I just said, they are the number one energy source that your body needs. This is not to, the reason why I don't support keto diet and why I will never recommend it to any of my clients is because you are cutting out an entire macronutrient. Of course, you're going to lose weight, not because you're cutting out carbs. It's because you're cutting out an entire macronutrient. All right? I just want to make that very clear. Many people of my clients who were on keto, and again, I don't try to sway their opinion on to stay on keto or to get off it. I just supply them with the facts. But many of my clients who were on the keto diet, when they would come in for their training sessions with me, I would notice they were very low energy, their strength wasn't improving, and in large, it was due to the insufficient amount of not calories, of carbs they were ingesting. Some of them had completely cut it out. Some were eating very tiny amounts, less than 20 grams a day. And I just can't fathom around that idea of only eating 20 grams of carbs per day, because I would literally the days when I'm very low carb, I literally feel like a sloth. I'm moving so slow and my energy is so depleted, and I don't want to feel like that. So you guys, you don't need to cut out carbs. Carbs are not bad. Carbs will not make you fat. If you wish to do keto because you genuinely love that lifestyle and it works for you, then by all means do it. I have family members who are on keto diet and they love it. More power to you, but just know if you're working with a professional and they tell you to cut out carbs, you need to drop them, find a new trainer, find a different, more knowledgeable professional, because you do not need to cut out carbs. Okay, rant over. And I want to talk about a little bit about glycemic index, what this means, how is this related to carbs. So glycemic index is the rate at which ingested carbs raises blood sugar and its accompanying effect on insulin release. So I'm going to call it GI for short, for glycemic index. The GI for a food is determined when the particular food is consumed on an empty stomach. That's the true GI number. Foods with a lower GI are good sources of complex carbs, as well as being high in fiber and overall nutritional values. So you definitely want to be hitting those foods with a low glycemic index. And such items include sweet potatoes, which I absolutely love. I love sweet potatoes, quinoa, chickpeas, and oats, just to name a few. And usually I've noticed at grocery stores, items that are labeled as having a low glycemic index will be labeled on the package as like a low GI. Many fruits and vegetables have a low GI. And complex carbs such as whole grains, fruits, and vegetables should constitute the majority of calories because of their nutrient-dense nature. So like mine, you just have to find the one that you love. You feel me? Kind of like finding your soulmate. That's how it is with food. Like sweet potato is my soulmate. Literally, I eat it every single day. There are so many recipes you could do with sweet potato. Okay, sweet potato fries. I do sweet potato with cinnamon, like really sweet. It's so delicious, high in nutrient, very nutrient dense item, and high in fiber, which is super important because many people, especially women, do not consume enough fiber. And fiber provides the feeling of fullness, of satiety I just mentioned with protein. That's why you want to eat lots of fiber. Again, especially if your number one fitness goal for the new year is to drop weight, to lose fat, you're going to want to consume lots of protein. You're going to want to consume lots of fiber because that's going to provide the feeling of fullness. And I want to kind of get now into the role of fiber and what it can do for your health. So fiber is oh my goodness, why can I not talk? Jesus. Fiber is an indigestible carb. And there are two types of fiber. So that we have soluble and insoluble fiber. Soluble fiber is dissolved by water and forms a gel-like substance in the digestive tract. And the benefits of soluble fiber include moderating blood glucose levels and lowering cholesterol. And good sources of soluble fiber include oats, so oatmeal, barley, and many uncooked fruits and vegetables, especially apples, oranges, and carrots, which I eat plenty of carrots. I love carrots. And also kiwis, any type of berry are also great sources of fiber. So of soluble fiber to be exact. So kiwis, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, all those berries. I love them. I eat them on a consistent daily basis. Now, insoluble fiber does not absorb or dissolve in water like soluble fiber. Instead, it passes through the digestive tract close to its original form. So it does not get broken down. It does not dissolve in the water. And the recommended intake for fiber is 28 grams per day for men and 25. Did I just say 25 twice? You guys, what is wrong with me? I already drank so much coffee today. Why can I not get it together right now? 38 grams of fiber per day for men and 25 grams per day for women, respectively. As I just said, fiber is amazing for the feeling of fullness, satiety. And this is a problem, as I mentioned in the beginning, that as I'm talking to clients and I'm, breaking down their food journals or tracking, I'm seeing exactly their day-to-day meals. That's the number one problem, or one of the number one problems, I should say, that I notice with their food logs is that they're not ingesting enough fiber. And fiber, you need it. And some tips that I have for increasing fiber intake, if you have an issue with eating the adequate amount per day, eat whole foods instead of drinking juices. So don't be on a juice cleanse if your goal is to eat more fiber. Replace white bread, overall grains with brown rice and grain products, and snack on fruits and raw vegetables instead of pastries. Okay? Those would be my top 3 tips if you're trying to up your fiber intake. And all in all, my professional recommendation would be when constructing your dietary plan with carbs, try to opt for unprocessed or minimally processed fruits, veggies, etc., and lots of fibers. So ditch the processed stuff, go for the whole foods, go for the foods that are going to fill you up, because, that's what's going to make you be more on track, right? And you don't just want to be mindlessly eating. And you want to make sure, you want to think of food, you guys. You need to think of food as fuel. This is something, it took me a very long time to understand. Food is fuel. And I think that is probably the most life-changing little phrase and the biggest difference that's made in my fitness journey and in my life is I don't eat just to eat, and I don't mindlessly eat. I don't eat just for, obviously for enjoyment. Like, I want to enjoy my food, but I don't eat just to fill up my stomach. That's another huge problem I witness with clients, just people in general who are trying to get their health on track, is that the mindless eating. And you really want to carefully craft. I know it sounds crazy, but you literally want to carefully craft your meals. Like, if you're serious about your health and fitness goals for 2020, if you really want to reach those resolutions that you made in the beginning of the year, you have to carefully craft your meals and make sure that what you're eating is going to help you into reaching those goals, whether it's just for overall health and well-being, you want to gain more muscle mass, you want to lose weight. Like, food is science, and we have to treat it as fuel for our bodies, because our bodies are engines. I'm sure you've heard of this multiple times, but literally you have to think of your body as an engine, and in order to keep that engine running, you got to, put some gas in it like a car. And the gas is going to be the healthy, nutritious foods that you're eating, or the crappy foods that you eat. It can go either or. That's why, I can really get more in depth into all that, but that is the most life-changing phrase and mentality that has really switched up everything for me, is viewing food as fuel and not just something to fill me up at the moment. And you guys, I'm going to cut into another quick break here. And when we come back, I'm going to move on to lipids/fats.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, and that will be the very last break for today's episode. And I'm moving on now into fats, aka lipids. What are the functions of lipids? And I'm going to be using lipids and fats interchangeably here, so just stick with me, all right? So lipids are the most concentrated source of energy in the diet. 1 gram of fat yields approximately 9 calories when oxidized. And fats are involved in the following. So these are the following functions of lipids: cellular membrane structure and function, so your brain; precursors to hormones; cellular signals; regulation and excretion of nutrients in cells; surrounding, protecting, and holding in place organs such as the kidney, heart, and liver; insulating the body from environmental temperature changes and preserving body heat, so your endocrine system. To sum it up, lipids of fats are the building blocks of the structure and function of living cells. So pretty much like the thermometer of your body, that's how I picture the function of lipids. And these food sources and types of fat are broken down into different categories. And I'm going to be talking more, splitting into monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, saturated fats, and then trans fats. So some food sources that are monounsaturated fats include olive oil, canola oil, peanut oil, avocados, nuts, etc. So those are all monounsaturated fats. Polyunsaturated fats are vegetable oils, soy, corn, sunflower seeds, many omega-3 fatty acids, so like salmon, mackerel, sardines, flax seeds. All of those are polyunsaturated fats, which are all great for you. Saturated fats, however, are things such as meat, poultry, butter, cheese, many baked goods. So pretty much, to sum it up, it's dairy and meat products. Many of these can be categorized as saturated fats. And last but not least, trans fat, which this one is like the alarm goes off, right? Whenever we see trans fat, we generally do not want to ingest trans fat or lots of trans fats in our diet. And these include, like fried foods, fried chicken, donuts, fast food, hot Cheetos. That was honestly the hardest thing for me to give up, was hot Cheetos, because I'm not kidding you guys. I used to live down the street of a 7-Eleven when I was in college, and I would literally walk to 7-Eleven every single day after school and grab a giant bag, not even like the 99-cent hot Cheeto bag, like the huge bag, $2.99 bag of hot Cheetos, and I could probably eat it in, like, I'm embarrassed to say, in one sitting. Like, I was so bad. I cannot believe I did that. Like, I know my body hates for it. I know I must have caused like a little bit of damage by doing that, but that's okay because I'm on an entirely different path now, and I'm eating so much better and I feel so much better. I'm eating healthier and I just love where I'm at right now. But so those are the different types of fats and food sources. So fat intake for adults is recommended generally between 20 to 35% of total caloric intake. For athletes, it's recommended only 20 to 25%. More than 35%, as I was doing, leads to overeating and often slows metabolism. And I cannot tell you how much truer that statement was, because back then, my metabolism compared to how it is now was complete crap. Like, literally so slow. And I got the Mexican genes, you know what they say. Mexicans, we gain weight. Most of our weight goes to like our stomachs, our core, and like our hips and our butt. But now it's crazy because everybody wants to gain weight in their butt area and their hips and legs. But I tend to gain weight in my core, and I definitely noticed that every time I ate like crappy foods and was just not fueling my body with the nutrients that I needed. So, and from tracking my foods, in addition to all that, this is why tracking your foods is so important, because I realized that I was for sure consuming more than 35% of my calories are from fats, like 40%, I would say, for me. And I can definitely notice a difference now. I'm probably eating, I don't know, probably the recommended, in between the 20 and 35 range. But back then, I was for sure eating about 40%, and some minor changes that I made to limit my fat consumption. Instead of using, like, I used to drench my like chicken, my salmon in olive oil and avocado oil, but now I use the spray, and the spray hardly has any grams of fat compared to olive oil. Like, olive oil, for like a tablespoon, fat is like probably 17 grams of fat, and without even realizing, and just the oil. And on top of that, I I always eat avocado every single day, and I eat almond butter. So those are all great sources of healthy fats. You need fats in your diet, but I think I was just consuming way too much. And like, even though they're healthy foods, eating too much of anything is not great for you. Same as like eating too much protein. It can go for carbs, fats, whatever the case is. Eating too much of anything is also not the best idea. So this is why I highly, highly suggest track your food, use MyFitnessPal, or use some other tracking device. There's so many out there. But fats, another disclaimer I want to throw in there. Fats do not make you fat, all right? You need fats in your diet for your bodily functions, your endocrine system, your cellular membrane function. Like, it's still a necessity. You still need to consume fats. Is just making sure you consume the right healthy choices. So like eating a hot Cheeto bag every single day like I was is not going to get to your health and fitness goals, and it's going to be detrimental to your health. So hopefully I was able to break many misconceptions for you regarding nutrition and diet, like fats don't make you fat, and that protein won't make you bulky. Carbs also won't make you fat. So that is going to wrap up today's episode. I hope I provided valuable information for you guys on today's episode, and you guys really grasp what I'm trying to say, and I hope you guys are able to further create delicious meals now knowing this information. And also, on top of that, I totally forgot. I want to leave you guys off with something. I want to give you guys my top 5. See, I totally just messed up. I was like, I'm going to end today's episode, but I'm not, because I'm going to share with you guys some of my favorite high protein like snacks, and which include Blessed Protein. So that is a protein powder that I use. I've been religiously using for the last 2 years of my fitness journey. If you don't know who they are, look them up. Blessed Protein. They have amazing flavors. It's also vegan, dairy free, and tastes amazing. Doesn't have that nasty, like grainy taste that some protein powders have. So highly recommend Blessed Protein. Another one of my favorite like high protein snacks would be apples with almond butter. Oh my God. My mouth is watering just by thinking this, because I literally need it right now. Like, I'm hungry and I want to eat apples with almond butter. Love it. And I love getting the unsalted almond butter, because I personally like adding sea salt to it, and I like determining the amount of salt I like to put in my foods. Another one of my favorites are going to be One Bar Protein. And this is not dairy free, but still very great ingredients and very high source of protein, especially if you're on the go. You can just pop one of these bad boys in your bag, your gym bag, and it's easy to ingest. And last but not least are our Len & Larry's protein cookies. These are so great. You can find these at any of your local grocery stores, Target, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, whichever your local grocery store. And these are also vegan, dairy-free, nut-free, but they all taste amazing. So I just wanted to throw those out there, leave you guys off with something. Let me know in the comments if you do try any of these protein sources. And now I'm going to wrap up today's episode. As always, thank you so much for tuning in to what I had to say. If you like today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, leave some nice comments, interact with me, okay? And I wish you all a very happy and blessed and healthy week. Keep smashing your goals. Don't give up. You can reach those New Year's resolutions. I believe in you guys. Let's hold each other accountable, and stay tuned for next week's episode here at GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.